He will shake his fist at the Mount of Jerusalem. Hello, everybody. This is Gilgamesh, and this is a continuation of our series on Isaiah. We are in chapter 10, and this is going to be just a short one here. Just a few verses we're going to cover from verse 28 through verse 32. And this is the fourth of 5 total poems that are in this chapter, a lot of short poems. Now, you may have noticed a bit of a pattern here with these poems. We had a poem that was focused on the shortcomings of Israel, then a poem focused on the invader, then a poem focused on the glorious future of Israel, and now we're going to have another poem focused on the invader. And then guess what? The next poem will be on the glorious future of Israel. So we seem to be switching back and forth from Israel to the invader, Israel to the invader, as we go through these poems. Seems to be too much of a pattern to be coincidence. I think it's intentional. And again, these poems were probably written individually and then gathered because they follow a bit of a theme. And part of that theme seems to be switching back and forth in our perspectives. On this rather short poem here, it's pretty straightforward. Now, in our last segment, I mentioned that there were 3 words that look like they do not belong to the verse before it. They're words that don't make a lot of sense, and there's no really good way to translate them as written. And so there are a couple of different options for how we can add a letter here or there to try and make it into something that makes sense. And if you want the full details on that, go watch the last episode. But basically, I think the best translation is the one that says, he shall come up from the desert. And so that is the beginning of this poem here. He shall come up from the desert. And we continue with that thought here. He shall come up from the desert. He has come to Ayath. He has passed through Migron. At Michmash, he stows his gear. They have crossed over the pass. At Gibeah, they lodge for the night. We have this idea of an itinerary. This is a lot of very sharp staccato style statements here. They're short and disconnected, and there are no conjunctions here. It's just very short, choppy statements. It's a bit of a different style than what we've had in the previous poems. And this is part of why we know that this is a separate composition, is he's changing his style. It doesn't mean that we've changed authorship necessarily, although some could argue for that. It just means that he's a very versatile poet, and now for a completely different style. But this also has a thematic connection to the previous poem about the invader, where he traced this line coming from the Euphrates River all the way down to Samaria. This line of towns here that he's mentioning here, we don't know where all of them are at, but we know where a few of them are at, and they all seem to be in pretty close to within about 10 miles or so of Jerusalem itself. So where in the last poem about the invader, it was the king of Assyria coming down into the capital of the northern kingdom, to Samaria itself, the capital city of the nation of Israel. This one is him coming to the very hilltop of Jerusalem in Judea. And so this is the kingdom of Judah that is being invaded here. This is all very in close to Jerusalem, all these spots. And so he is coming up to the very city of Isaiah's people. Now we also have here, they've crossed over the pass and they lodge for the night. Both of these are cognate accusatives, where they use the verb and the object from the same root. He has crossed the crossing. He has lodged in the lodging place. He has nighted the night. But it's hard to portray that exactly in English. But this is, again, part of the style of poetry that they use in Hebrew. But the idea here is that this invader is coming in, and he's coming right into the Judean territory. He's coming into the tribe of Judah themselves, right through the tribe of Benjamin, right up to the very gates. So we have this: Ramah trembles. Gibeah of Saul has fled. Old capital from before the time of David, where Saul ruled in the tribe of Benjamin. This is as you're approaching Jerusalem here. Cry aloud, O daughter of Galim. Give attention, O Lisha. Answer her, Anathoth. We've got 3 lines here. The last one's a little bit controversial. The Hebrew text, as it is traditionally written, reads, "Poor is Anathoth," which doesn't make a whole lot of sense here. The thing that you must remember about Hebrew, again, is that the vowels came much later, centuries later. You can just simply change the vowels in this. There's two words, one word that means to be miserable, to be suffering, to be poor, and another word that is a verb that means to answer a question, to give a reply to someone. The vowels that are traditionally there has it as this adjective, poor, suffering. And if we change the vowels around a little bit, you can make it into an imperative of answer her. And this makes a lot more sense because if you look at the two lines above it, each one is an imperative followed by a proper name. And if we revowel this last line, then it also becomes an imperative followed by a proper name. And you get this much nicer parallel. And so basically, I think that the Masoretes got the vowels wrong on this. It doesn't make sense to say poor is Anathoth here at the end. That doesn't really flow as well. Instead, this should be, "Cry aloud, O daughter of Galam, give attention, Lisha, answer her, Anathoth." Then we continue here. "Madmena is in flight. The inhabitants of Gebim flee for safety. This very day he will halt at Nob. He will shake his fist at the mount of the daughter of Zion, the hill of Jerusalem." Nob is, we believe, to be Mount Scopus, which is right there next to the Mount of Olives. He's going to be right across the Kidron Valley from the main city. He's coming right up to the gates. They will be able to see him from the city walls of Jerusalem. That's how close this invader is coming. And that actually fits with what happens with the king of Assyria. He comes right up to the walls of Jerusalem. That's actually the end of our poem here. He just gives this itinerary of him approaching the city, and then he halts here at the mount, right across from Jerusalem, to shake his fist at the daughter of Zion. Now, a couple other things here. Daughter of Zion. The Hebrew word for daughter is bat. The Hebrew word for house is bayit. The traditional text here has bayit, which is house, but we're pretty sure it's a misspelling, and the Masoretes actually put a marginal note there saying that it should read as bat, and we have several different texts that agree with that, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Septuagint, the Syriac translation, the Vulgate. Everybody has daughter here, but the traditional text as it is written has house, but with a marginal note from the Masoretes saying it really should not have that middle letter in there. It should be daughter. That actually fits with Isaiah's preferred imagery as well, that Zion is portrayed as a young woman here. And so this person is going to come right up to the mount of the daughter of Zion. Thing to note here is that the way this is described here is it seems to think that Assyria is going to be attacking from the north, which Syria is to the north of them, so that kind of makes sense. In reality, in 701 BCE, when Assyria did come there, they actually kind of approached more from the southwest. And so one possibility is that that is evidence that this was written before the invasion, and Isaiah is not intending to give a very specific itinerary, but is just simply talking poetically about what he believes will happen or what might happen. Or it's possible that he's describing something else entirely. But this does not seem to reflect accurately what we believe happened historically. And so this may just be Isaiah giving a warning before it occurs that it's going to occur, and not intending to be so precisely specific about it, but just to give a general idea, because it seems that they approach more from the southwest. But that's our little quick poem today. It's short, it's simple. There's not a whole lot to pick apart about it, but it sets us up for the next one, where we're going to flip perspectives back again towards Israel. And this next one's going to cover the last couple of verses in this chapter, chapter 10, and then all of chapter 11. So the next one's going to be a nice long one. And we have been reaching a crescendo to get to this last poem here, where we're going to talk about the Stump of Jesse. And this next one is one of the most famous poems in all of Isaiah, and one of the most significant for Isaiah's vision of a messianic future. So join us next time. Hit subscribe, hit like, and be sure to be warned when I get that one out. I will hopefully get on it soon. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a good evening.